Value of serenity. Since time immemorial, the attitude of the truly wise has been expressed in the saying, "Have nothing and yet possess everything." To have nothing means to renounce the unnecessary material and, in this relationship, to turn only to what is necessary. In relation to possessing everything, however, is to follow all true knowledge as well as wisdom, true love and true peace, true harmony and freedom in knowledge and observance of the creational truth, justice and laws, and to call it one's own. Only those who do not attach their thoughts, feelings and spiritually fine sensitive feelings to materially created things, who can free themselves from the compulsion of the material and let go of it in order to give the spiritual and that which is consciousness-based the place they deserve, are truly free and thus calm. Serenity is of great importance, for in its value it contains the power of calmness in thoughts, feelings, desires, hopes, and expectations, by the fact that an entrance has been found into the creational truth in which fulfillment can be found in every respect. Serenity in its value also means that there has been a liberation from the habits of one's own ego, as well as an emptying of fears and worries, so that true love, knowledge, and wisdom can work within the personality, thus expressing the true core of the innermost creational being in an unadulterated form. Serenity as an attitude also means inner freedom, inner peace and tranquility, and a strong and healthy factor of distance from everything that negatively affects consciousness and thoughts and feelings from the outside. Serenity is a protection against it and prevents that which is threatening from the outside from finding a place inside the personality and in thoughts and feelings and from becoming established in them. So serenity is not simply an attitude of character in itself, but a strictly worked-out attitude of reason, true love and harmony, as well as inner peace and inner freedom. So serenity can be learned, but in order to attain it, much must be left alone and omitted, especially the strict attachment to the purely worldly, the material. The human being should not be attached to the recognition as well as the property and success, etc. in binding measure, because otherwise a dependence is generated. But it is this dependence that contradicts human dignity to a great extent. Nevertheless, the human being makes himself or herself dependent on their prosperity, on their desires, material addictions and vices, as well as on habits and the like. But if the human being wants to attain serenity, he or she must let go of all these things. This letting go of all unnecessary and often very stressful ballast has nothing to do with an ascetic achievement, nothing to do with hermitage, and nothing to do with deprivation and self-mortification, which would have to be laboriously carried and fulfilled. In fact, it is only the volition through pure reason as well as the need for inner freedom, namely out of the knowledge that life only becomes truly fruitful and successful when there is real independence from all burdensome things and unvalues, such as true inner freedom and love as well as peace and harmony. Only in this state is the human being independent of all that other humans think and expect of him or her. And this state also belongs to the realm of serenity and its value. And this state also means freedom and independence from every recognition and care of other people, because through the state of serenity, there is a contact with one's own self or personality, which is recognized and accepted in all its values. But in this value of serenity lies also the demand of letting go of oneself, when an egotism is prevented, as well as the appearance of fears, worries, and depressive thoughts and feelings, etc. Also, the being hurt by fellow human beings, by their words and actions, etc., is avoided by this, or at least such injuries are not held on to. Thus there are also no accusations against fellow human beings who may have caused injuries. And by not accusing the human being ultimately does not refuse life, but cultivates his or her serenity. In truth, then, the human being should ignore all insults and injuries as far as the situation permits. This also means to let the serenity work in such a wise that a distancing and a resignation from one's own self must take place in order to view oneself and one's own life from an elevated point of view, in order to see oneself as it corresponds to reality. But this can only happen in serenity. and those who are really able to do this can react calmly to whatever penetrates them. Serenity also leads to a serene reaction to rejection or criticism, and also to no panic gaining the upper hand when surprising or terrible situations and events occur. Calmness also leads to the feeling and security of not being threatened, and to fearlessness, not least because a useful and securing distance is gained from all internal and external influences. The opinions of humans are different and diverse, just as the successes and images are different and varied. But all these are of little or no importance if they are confronted with serenity. Serenity always offers a solid foundation on which one can look calmly at what flows into one's own person. And those who have developed serenity can also react to the worst events and news, whereby, however, serenity has nothing to do with composure or preparedness, which, for example, is revealed in a message through which the death of a loved one is transmitted. Composure or being prepared means to fit into a strong control of one's own power, and thus into a discipline created by oneself. The expression of composure or preparedness is based on a strict control of not releasing the true thoughts and feelings of being affected to the outside, although an inner shock is present. Through the composure, respectively the preparedness, only the posture is truthfully preserved, whereby the human being controls himself or herself externally. In truth, however, this is no more and no less than a self-control that has nothing to do with serenity. A human being who truly lives in serenity never has to keep his or her composure, for their inner attitude is harmonious, free, and balanced to such an extent that they are not affected mentally and emotionally by bad events, situations, and messages, etc., in such a wise that everything must first be subjected to control and mastery. For a human who lives in serenity is clearly aware of the things that life inevitably brings with it and which no human being is able to avoid. So he or she accepts them and unconsciously comes to terms with them. Thus, nothing can throw him or her off course, which gives them an absolute inner freedom and vastness, the basic condition of which in turn is serenity. The truth of serenity does not lie in discussions that are often heated and often lead to arguments. Serenity is therefore also not anchored in the fact that through speeches and discussions, etc., a duty must be fulfilled, and the conscience must or should be calmed down. The truth of serenity is also not found in the correctness or choice of arguments and words, because truthfully completely different values are of importance, namely the consistency with the reality of the truth itself. And precisely this is a sore point that gives humans insecurity and ignorance, because precisely what he or she considers to be real and absolutely true is, as a rule, nothing more than an expression of his or her own imagination and all that they make up for themselves as projections. Thus humans make their own images and ideas of truth without seeking and finding the real truth within themselves. Thus truth remains a book with 7 seals and completely incomprehensible to him, because they are unable to define it. But if they know about the real truth, then they will not withdraw, but will conduct their words and discussions in the knowledge of it, that there is only one truth, even if for the individual human being, according to their own views, their insights and truths are always only relative. Consequently, all human beings can also have different points of view. But the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the truth, says that the human being also comes to the aid of this through real serenity, that they should not only cultivate their thoughts in an over-intellectual manner, but also through their feelings and through their rationality, whereby they should also hear the voice of their innermost, creational spiritual being.
Fert Nipple, Bulak ZH, Saturday, the 8th of March, 1947, 1640 HRS Eduard, 10 years old.